push the wrong button. Okay, so we have done our mock and we are back on poetry. We're going to work on poetry through the rest of this week. And then on Monday, we're going to do a little activity. And then Tuesday, we'll take a short poetry test for your last poetry grade. And then you get out of school next Friday early. So we're going to finish up this week with some poetry, and then next week we'll just do some different reading activities based on how your mock reading test went. So this is the poem you're actually going to be using, and I will post this in the Google Classroom for you to go back and look at, and it's going to come with 12 questions. If I were you, I would reread this poem to myself. And then I would do 6 questions today and 6 questions tomorrow, and then you can turn it in for a grade. So the title of this poem is called Casey at the Bat. This is a long poem, and you notice that here they have already numbered the lines for us. So we know there are 51 lines, and then we could count the stanzas. 1, and I know this is stanza 2 because there's a big break right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there's 13 stanzas in this poem. That's a really big poem. All right, so let's go. And what we're going to do is as we read, we're going to stop and just talk about each stanza and what is happening in the poem. The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville 9 that day. The score stood 4-2 with but 1 inning more to play. And then when Cooney died at first and Barrows did the same, a pale-like silence fell upon the patrons of the game. So we know that the outlook wasn't great for the Mudville 9 that day. And so we know 9 players were on the team, and the name of their team was the Mudville. They're in innings, and we know they're not doing well because there was a pill-like silence at the game. A struggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest clung to the hope which springs eternal in the human breast. They thought if only Casey could get a whack at that, he'd put even money now with Casey at the bat. So they have a wish right now. They're hoping that their player Casey can go get a bat because he must be pretty good. But Flynn preceded Casey, as did also Jimmy Blake, and the former was a hoodoo while the latter was a cake. So upon that stricken multitude, grim melancholy sat, for there seemed but little chance of Casey getting to bat. So we've got some really big vocabulary in here, so I need to go back and break it down a little bit of what is happening. So preceded means goes before, and so did Jimmy, as the former was a hoodoo while the latter was a cake. So I'm going to guess that it wasn't very good. So upon that stricken multitude, grim melancholy sat, for there seemed to be little chance of Casey getting to bat, because they must be getting close to 3 outs. But Flynn let drive a single to the wonderment of all, and Blake, the much despised, tore the cover off the ball. And when the dust had lifted and men saw what had occurred, there was Jimmy safe at second and Flynn a hugging third. So we know that things are going a little bit better than they thought they would. Then from 5,000 throats and more there rose a lusty yell. It rumbled through the valley, it rattled in the dell. It pounded on the mountain and recoiled up the flat. For Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat. So in this stanza, they're really describing how loud and crazy the fans are getting. There was ease in Casey's manner as he stepped into his place. There was pride in Casey's bearing, and a smile lit Casey's face. And when responding to the cheers, he lightly doffed his hat. No stranger in the crowd could doubt 'twas Casey at the bat. So they said there was ease in his manner. So he was calm, and he was pride and had a smile on his face. So he was feeling good about this. 10,000 eyes were on him as he rubbed his hands with dirt. 5,000 tongues applauded when he wiped them on his shirt. So 5,000 people in the stands. Then while the writhing pitcher ground the ball into his hip, defiance flashed in Casey's eye. A sneer curled Casey's lip. So he's getting like, he's ready. And now the leather-covered sphere, so instead of saying ball, they said the leather-covered sphere, came hurling through the air. And Casey stood a-watching it, a haughty garter there. Close by the sturdy baseman, the ball unheeded sped. That ain't my style, said Casey. Strike one, the umpire said. So Casey didn't like the way that ball was coming at him, did he? From the benches, black with people, there went a muffled roar, like the beating of the storm waves on a stern and distant shore. So they compared the sound of people beating and clapping on the bleachers to the sounds of waves in a storm. Kill him! Kill the umpire! Shouted someone at the stand, and it's likely they had killed him had Casey not raised his hand. With a smile of Christian charity, great Casey's visage shone. He styled the rising tumult and bade the game go on. He signaled to the pitcher, and once more the dun sphere flew. But Casey still ignored it, and the umpire said strike two. So everybody was really, really mad, but not Casey. Casey was calm and said, come on, give me the ball. Fraud, cried the maddened thousands, and echo answered fraud. But one scornful look from Casey, and the audience was awed. They saw his face grow stern and cold, and they saw his muscles strain. And they knew that Casey wouldn't let that ball go by again. So Casey's getting like pumped up, like I've got this. The sneer is gone from Casey's lip. The teeth are clenched in hate. He pounds with cruel violence his bat upon the plate. And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go. And now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. Oh, somewhere in this favored land the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light. And somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville. Mighty Casey has struck out. So we know that this poem was written in third-person point of view from the perspective of an unknown author. Like, we're not really sure who told us this story, but we know it was a narrator. And let's talk about the mood of this poem. Was it a happy mood the whole time? It was more of like a frustrating and a sad, maybe even depressed if you were on the team. So this was not a very happy poem. It was more of a letdown poem. We talked about the lines in the stanzas. There was lots of rhyming, so it followed a B, B pattern there in that first one. So in all of the lines, we noticed that the first two lines rhyme and the second two lines rhyme. So that was their pattern in the poem. And we did have some figurative language, and we talked about that. They used similes and metaphors as they compared the sounds of things to other things. So I'm going to post the questions in a Google slide. Each question will be on a Google slide. And like I said, you can do it all today, or you can do 6 questions today and 6 tomorrow.